Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-123 for parcel number 28573-111729115, represented by Kevin Tatum, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakbill, as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be presented. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, correct.
Okay, go ahead, you're first.
You've seen what I have presented, right? I wanted to review that real quickly,
Okay.
and then hopefully Clayton can respond as well.
Go ahead.
As I got my property taxes, I think they've gone up about 50%. I'm sorry, the value has gone up about 50%. So I did some research, and it appears that Clayton, and it does state in his record that he is using 1000 South Laguna as one of the main comparisons, okay? Sold in 2022 for about $1.5 million. I understand that. It is a house on main water. I think I even showed you pictures of that particular house. It's almost on a different level, okay? If my house were on that, it probably would have sold for a little more too on that particular lot. I've also noticed that the value of that particular parcel, the land value is less than my land value. And whether we agree or not, the land value across the street on shallow water is not worth main lake water. So we have an error, in my opinion, just on that, okay? There's another house on Sandalwood that has sold, which was not his main place or main comparison, but he did reference it, okay? And that did sell for $900,000. It is on the other side, a little more shallow, but access to the lake a little bit better, okay? So as I did my research and looked at what, Clayton had submitted to me, I decided to, first I called Clayton and asked him, look, are you also assessing everybody else in the neighborhood the same year? And he said, yes, everybody got looked at. Okay, so that made me look at a couple of things, okay? I wanted to throw some common sense into this too, okay? So first of all, and I'll try and be quick, I understand about time. My neighbor's house, okay, directly next to me, he's got 1,000 square feet less. He's on the same lot, very nice home, and I have a very nice home. So if you're looking at assessed values and you're trying to see a marketplace, okay, and I get that. So I'm looking at mine and I'm looking at his. And I say, his went down $90,000. Mine went up $400 and some thousand. That strikes me as just not right. Because nobody's gonna come and say, boy, whose house are you gonna buy first? We're right next to each other. So if I can't see his house being grossly overvalued, in other words. So that struck me, okay? Then I decided to look outward a little bit. And I think Clayton had said, well, hey, I'm trying to find other places of the sales that are close to your square footage, which is about 3,633 square feet, okay? So I decided, okay, well, let me at least see what else other people are now being valued, okay? So if you want to look at that 900 Camas, I think it's 900 Camas, the one, not a Camas, I'm sorry, on Sandalwood, that's sold, okay? About 3-4 houses down, we have a place, I believe it was built in 2020. It's 4,700 square feet, a new custom home, and it's valued at 702,000 square feet. I'm sorry, $702,000, which gives you an average square foot of 147. I'm not going to bore you with all these. You see the square foot cost, correct? On all these comparisons. So you've got a place that's 4,700 square feet. You got another place on Sandalwood on the same street, correct? 4,700 square feet valued at 682, okay? I am gonna go over to Lupine, okay? Now, I have a question for you folks. Can I actually use Lupine, Sand Dunes, Camas as a direct comparison to Laguna? Does anybody have an answer on that one by chance?
That's basically,
Yeah, I'll address that one.
Okay. Okay. 8 years ago, they would not let me compare anything outside of Laguna. They said Laguna is an area alone, which I thought was kind of crazy, but that's what it was. But he has referenced some places over in that area, so I'm going to use those as some comparisons, okay? So if we want to look at Jansen's house, 717 Lupine, it is 5,500 square feet, an absolute beautiful custom home. I don't know when it was built, but you folks can look that up. Beautiful place. Valued at $993,000, square foot cost of 181, okay? I get that. It's 5,500 square feet. I get that. But I'm trying to figure out why my house is valued at more. You understand where I'm coming with that. And you've got other places here too. On my street, same waterfront, 551 Laguna, 3,300 square feet. I think that's close enough in square footage. 550,000. 545 Laguna, right next door, 3,800 square feet, larger than my house. A very nice custom home, 741. Okay. And obviously the larger home you get, the square foot cost tends to go a little bit lower as opposed to somebody that has a nice 2,000 square foot home. But as you can see, it almost appears that my house has the highest square foot cost of the entire neighborhood. And that question that put a question in my mind, so I had to come here and appeal. I just can't do that. I just disagree with Clayton. So I don't see consistency, I guess, and that's what I need to hear about and see what we can do on that. And I told Clayton, look, we can negotiate on this. I get that, but we decided to come here, and that's okay. So I think that's what I have so far. And I'll let Clayton do, unless you have a question for me, Chair. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to attempt to kind of answer these questions as they came along, to the best of my ability here. So one of the first things was the land, the difference between the land of one of the comparables and the land of the subject. I didn't include in my response anything about the land because the land wasn't questioned in the petition. Typically, if there is no question about what the land value is, if the appellant's estimate is the same as ours, then I don't include anything about the land. So with that, I'm not sure why there is a discrepancy in the difference of the land of comparable one versus the subject. It has been adjusted for in there. I can see where the appellant is concerned about that, considering it is a little bit bigger, and it's valued, I see here it's valued at less. Why that is, I'm not sure. I would have to look further into that to answer that question. And then see, the next thing that was brought up would have been the neighbor's house being 1,000 square foot less. We only had sales, oh, let me rephrase that. The sales that were used for the subject were sales of 3,000 square foot and above. The market for 3,000 square foot and below was a different market, and was adjusted accordingly, whether that was not adjusted or had a different kind of adjustment. We're looking at only the 3,000 square foot and above in this particular grouping. So that is why that one would have had, you know, we don't, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the comparable sales and I'm not looking at assessed values of other properties. The list that was provided here does have a bunch of valuations for other properties. These are assessed values. These aren't sales, therefore they're not something that I can address because of the differences in the homes, whether it be their neighborhood, the components, the square footage. And also in this valuation here, it appears that the valuation here is broke down in cost per square foot, but this total valuation is also accounting for the land and any other buildings on the parcel, pools, garages, anything else, plus the land. So the cost per square foot isn't reflective of just the home, it's reflective of the property as a whole. So I don't know, and again, these are just assessed values, so I didn't look into each one of these because we're not looking at assessed values, we're looking at the sales here. Let's see here. Can we use other areas? The sales, and I believe I mentioned this in my response, the sales here, comparable one was the only one used because it was in the subject neighborhood. It was over 3,000 square foot. So it was the most comparable. That's why it was used. These other ones were added into the sales comparison grid for illustrative purposes only, because some of the question on this was about the land in the lake access or the lake frontage. And it has been something that's been brought to my attention before, that these shallow lagoon areas aren't as desirable. So I added those sales in there just to show what they were selling for compared to the subject. Now, as you'll see, their comparable two's adjusted value is just over $1,072,000. And then we have comparable 3 at 976,000 and comparable 4 at 1.279 million. So those are showing that those are selling, even lower square footages are selling on an average for more than the assessed value of the subject. The last thing would be the consistency. Again, without being able to look further into all of these parcels and then why their assessed value is what it is, I can't tell you why the cost per square foot is inconsistent, but being as how this dollar per square foot on this sheet that the appellant provided doesn't account for those extra things like buildings and pools and all those other things that come with the property and the land, it's really hard to say why those vary so much. And I would guess that that's probably why, is because some of these include other things besides the home itself. So I believe that is all that. I hope that answers all the questions that were brought forward, but I will gladly answer any more. But with that, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $147,500, building and structures, $905,340, for a total assessed value of $1,052,840.
Any rebuttal? We got
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
just a minute, so.
I'll try and be quick. I couldn't disagree more. Clayton says he can't answer the fact of why a land is more or why these square footages are different because of different structures and, well, I'm sorry, but the assessor's office should know all of that. They should know all of that. I don't have any extra things on my property. One house across the street does not make a market. Okay, now, let's say he said he went after 3,500 square foot homes, okay? So then he went to my house and said, oh, well, I better adjust yours. My question once again is why are we not going to the other houses that are 5,000 square feet and 3,800 square feet? And somewhat, doesn't the county want to make money? I mean, this is about money too. So why are they not adjusting them? I'm not saying go adjust them. I'm just saying, why is it just mine? You've got to look at that. Yeah, and the cost per square foot, we all know that's very apparent. I have a bunch of homes here. You can look at all of those. Anyway, I think I think you get where I'm coming from. And I think it's ludicrous. I think it's ludicrous to have my house valued at that and everybody else is at not. And to use one single home at that square footage doesn't mean another place the square footage is going to sell for. And if it does, then don't just use my home. And I hope that makes sense to you folks. Anyway.
Anything else?
No, I have not.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-125 for parcel number 10296-050068407, represented by Mastermind Productions, Inc., Tygus Christensen, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakebill, as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the time limits and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimonies you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. Appellant goes first.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I will try to be brief. And in the interest of time, I'll just jump in. There are a few items that I wanted to address based on the information that was submitted by myself and the assessor. The first item is that the comps that were submitted by the assessor are all 3 years old, except for a singular comparative property. And that property is roughly double the square footage of the garage in question here. I don't generally think we assess a 2,500 square foot home on the basis of a 5,000 square foot home. So I'm not sure that that's a great comp. The comps that I submitted were more recent overall. If you looked across all of them, even though they're 1,000 feet away from the development that my garage is part of. And I submitted the 2 garages that were about twice the size of my garage as well, just because the dollar per square foot value was roughly the same, although I don't like using those as comps. I'm not sure why or how the assessor has come up with their number of $141,754 because in their own information that they submitted, if you take the average of their dollar per square foot value, which is $237.18 per square foot, multiply it by what they say my garage square footage is, which is 533 square feet, you end up with a value of $126,416.94. In other words, about $15,000 short of what the actual valuation is. That's not a rounding error. I mean, they're off by over 10%. So even using their kind of what I would consider to be cherry-picked numbers, which are older comps and only a single comp that's a year and a half old that is twice the size of my garage. Even using those cherry-picked numbers, I can't arrive at a value of $141,754. So I'm not quite sure where they're coming from there. And of course, bear in mind, these are garages. I mean, this is 3 walls, 1 ceiling, a poured slab concrete floor, and a roll-up door. That's it. It's a box. There's no heating, there's no cooling, there's no plumbing, there's no special trim, there's no architectural complexity here. It's a box. That's it. There's not even windows in it. I just looked at my home value this morning in Quincy. I live in Quincy in Paradise Park, one of the newer AHO developments. And if you come out with a dollar per square foot value on my home, it's about $228 per square foot. And which is interesting to me because the average value calculated by the assessor on a per square foot basis for my garages is higher than my home. My home has floors, carpet, hardwood, granite countertops, fireplaces, windows, trim, appliances, toilets that flush. My garage has none of those things. So I don't understand why the price per square foot is up. The garage is not a view property, and even if it was, it has no windows with which you could enjoy said view. Lastly, what I would like to be considered is that the absence of some evidence submitted by both myself and the assessor, and that is there are no recent comps. I mean, comps more than 6 months old, if you talk to a real estate agent, they're not super excited about using that as evidence. I mean, the most recent comp submitted by the assessor is a year and a half ago. So I don't know how relevant those are. I think the absence of comps speaks louder than the presence of comps. There are 17 new garages in my complex, the same complex as mine, that have not been sold. They're new, they're completed, they've been on and off market collectively and individually. Right now, they're not listed on the MLS, even though they are still for sale. They've tried to sell them. They've listed them at $103,000 each. They dropped them to $100,000, and in about the past year, they've sold exactly 0 of them. So I think the existence of a lack of comps here kind of points to what the overall value is. So that's why I believe the value of my garage is below $100,000 and nowhere close to the almost $150,000 that the assessor's office came up with. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Please.
Did you make any contact with the assessor's office to try to discuss the discrepancy in the square footage that he's listing?
No, I didn't realize that was an option afforded to me.
No, I have that question also.
Right. You want to have anything?
All right, so I'll just write that down. Let me just address that first bunch of stuff here that I'm gonna address. The square footage was found on the binding site plan. I've included that in my response here. If that information is correct, I would definitely like to know that to get that fixed. We use these for the valuation of all the garages in that area so that they're consistent. As you can see there on page 8, which is the binding site plan, it does show the garage at 533 square foot. So that's where we got that number from. Let's see here. Okay, so the columns are 3 years old. That is correct. However, the assessment date for this particular assessment is 1/1 of 2025. Department of Revenue requires us to go back 5 years. We'd like to put the most emphasis on the newest sales that are the most comparable. On page 6 does have a breakdown of the sales that were used by the assessor's office versus the sales that were used by the appellant. I do see the appellant's sales are a little newer, but as you've seen on the map there, they were used for a different adjustment because they were in a different location. Now that location isn't far off, but we had sales of garages in that particular area. So those were what was used. The dollar per square footage. So this dollar per square footage is just used again as an illustrative purpose to show what the average is for the sales dollar per square foot. That is not how we came up with the value. So the way we come up with the value is a replacement cost new less depreciation, and then that's adjusted based on the sales. So we get that dollar per square foot replacement cost, and then a percentage is applied to that based on what percentage they're selling for more or less than their replacement cost. So that is that $237.18 per square foot is not reflective of how the valuation was come up with. Let's see here. The other thing would be, the appellant mentioned it's just a garage. The sales that were used were also just garages. And even as far as the sales that the appellant provided, those are also just garages. I know he had mentioned that his home is valued, less dollar per square foot. But even the sales that the appellant provided show a higher dollar per square foot. These are just selling for that much. I mean, I don't know why that is, but the data tells us that these garages are selling for that. No recent comps. And so the newest sale was a year and a half ago. The newest sale in that I have listed here was it was a year and a half ago as we sit here today. As of the assessment date, that was 1/1 of 2025. So that sale was actually 5 days after the assessment date. So when talking about time, that is actually the closest sale. Now, again, that one is a little bit bigger. Typically, when it comes to construction costs, you're going to see a dollar per square foot go down as they get bigger. And this particular one, it's right there in between, with it being at 230 and a high of 262. So I believe that was all that was on there. Definitely happy to answer any more questions. But with that, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, 20,000, building and structures, 121,754, for a total assessed value of 141,754.
Any rebuttals, sir?
Yeah, I just don't see how it's possible that the valuation of a property could almost triple from one year to the next. Plain and simple, that's ludicrous. That's all I have to say in response.
Jerry?
How did you come up with your value?
Which
I
one?
look at the 80,000, well, 20,000, you guys, it seems agree on the land valued at 20,000. For improvements for the building, you said it's just around $60,000.
Well, I came up with that based on the knowledge that if other identical units in my complex are listed at 100,000, and as my dad says, asking ain't getting, and none of them are selling at that, then the value must be lower, because that's what the market would bear, because the market isn't generating any sales at that price. So I allowed for an increase, but I didn't think that it made sense to go over $100,000. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-127 for parcel number 30176-120175103, represented by Anthony Arredondo, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. Your 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is myself, Jim Brinkville as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as member. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representatives swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay. The appellant will go first, followed by the assessor.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your week to be here and hearing me. I'm not going to be as official as the guy before me, but my nerves are like this, so please work with me here.
Sure.
I guess I'm going to go back a couple of assessments ago, the year before last. The year before last is when I got a new assessment from the assessor, and it shot up like almost $300,000. I apologize if my numbers aren't accurate. I'm just kind of rounding. Huge percentage increase. So after working with the assessor did a really good, the communication was phenomenal. They truly worked with me. I thank them a lot. It came down to that there was an error made by the assessor's office for my neighborhood. Several homes were affected. My in-laws are my neighbors, and they actually got the direct correspondence of the assessor admitting that there was errors made on our street, so adjustments were made accordingly. So it went from a 300 to a low 400,000. This new assessment that occurred this year, same scenario, it just jumped straight up to almost $700,000, 680 or 675. I apologize, I'm not accurate here, but a huge percentage increase again. I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, but that increase, I don't understand how they came up with that total. So I did some analysis on other properties, not necessarily in my neighborhood. The year before last, when I was working with the assessor, I asked them how they came about getting that assessment. They told me they couldn't find any comps that was similar to mine. So they went outside my neighborhood to different areas to do this. This year, on the newest assessment, they stayed within my neighborhood. One of the homes being a lake house with a greater square footage, a smaller home that had sold just a couple houses down, which is definitely a lot smaller than mine. My house, when we built our home, is just your basic, we went with size rather than luxury. So we had laminate counters. I mean, it's like as basic as you can get. So after I did my analysis of other homes like that's close to the lake, not lakefront property, I did find some other comps comparable to my home as far as size of square footage. And I found that those homes had sold within that year in 2025 at a much lower price than what my home was being evaluated as. I don't think it's fair that the other luxury homes were assessed as my comps. So I did some more digging and I found some places such as the Laguna area in Moses Lake, Dune Lakes, and I was really astounded by their assessments. For an example, in my evidence, there is a home, I believe on Sandalwood. The square footage was greater than 3,000. My home's only 2662 or 2672. And I believe it barely touched $300,000 for that home appraisal. There was another place in the Dune Lakes area, across the street from the lake, just like how mine is, can't see it. That home was, I want to say, low 500,000. The one that really got me the most was another home I just randomly came about. It was 6,000 square feet. It has a pool inside the house, 5 bedrooms, I think 6 bathrooms, maybe I have that vice versa. But that home appraisal was $520,000. Mine 2,700 square foot home is being evaluated at it's like 680 with the land included. So I'm just really having a hard time swallowing my evaluation when there's other homes much larger than mine in square footage. The areas are very kind of similar. We're near the lake, got a boat launch right nearby. I don't mind paying my taxes, but I don't think the amount's really justified.
Only for correction, so that we're on the same page. We're showing 580, not 680.
For this year's
For your-
assessment
For your, yes,
with land and,
yes,
okay. So I apologize, I got the amounts mixed up.
okay.
I think I was
I
referring to
just
20.
wanted to clarify.
Thank you for clarification. But even at 580, with the homes much larger, it's just a tough pill to swallow, and I'll pay my taxes. I just don't think it's
Okay,
really justified.
right. Clayton?
Okay, so go ahead and address the concerns here. First thing was the error in the previous years. Properties are revalued every year. Once every 6 years, they're physically inspected, and the rest of the county, the 5/6 of the county is statistically updated based on sales. So anything that happened in previous years does not apply to the current valuation. Another thing I've stated, I just wanted to kind of touch base on, is we said we went outside the neighborhood for adjustments. That I'm not sure what appraiser said that. As far as making market adjustments on homes, we're trying to look at just that neighborhood. I would not tell somebody that we would go outside of the neighborhood. Now, as you've seen in some of my sales comparison grids, I may use homes that weren't used in that market adjustment for illustrative purposes. But as far as market adjusting a home, we're wanting to stay in the subject's neighborhood, or very, very, very close. The last thing would have been just kind of touch on the other appraisals. I do see the appellant provided some additional information that included some other assessments. Without knowing the details and the components and what have you of those properties, it's hard for me to sit here and say why they are valued the way they are valued. We're only looking at the market in that particular neighborhood, not what we're not basing anything on other assessed values. There's a lot of factors that go into those. As seen on page 6 of my response, the following sales comparison grid shows the sales that were used. These sales are adjusted to match the features of the subject property. The average adjusted market value was $565,498, which is going to be my new recommended value. The appellant had listed 4 sales in their petition. Sales A and B were not used as they are in Ephrata, and the subject is in Moses Lake. And again, we're only going to use comparables in that area. Let's see here. Sales C and D were not used as they are in a different neighborhood. However, sales C was added to the grid for illustrative purposes. When adjusted to match the subject, it supports a higher value. No weight was given to that sale in the average. And then the appellant mentioned the error in 2024. However, they're revalued every year. So with that we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land, 40,000, building and structures, 525,498, for a total assessed value of 565,498, and that math, okay, yep, 565,498.
Mentioned that you used one of his comps. Can you tell us which one it is on your grid?
Sales C. Sales C was added to the grid, which, I'm sorry, I didn't say, I said it was sales C of theirs. I can tell you.
Is that the one on Crestmont or the one on Grove?
Sales C was 2109 Crestmont,
Okay.
so that's gonna be comparable for.
Or, okay. Right. Question?
No, I was right on that one too.
Do you have any rebuttal?
The only thing I really have to say about that is I looked up the RCW in the state of Washington and please correct me, but the assessor has the ability to go outside the neighborhood for appraisals. And I just feel the appraisals that are being provided is just in benefit of the county. Again, I provided evidence and I understand every scenario is different. But if we come down to square footage, just the basic, the square foot, the price per square foot does not add up when we have other homes. And the other addresses that I got, it was their current appraisal for this year. This is what they would be paying, just like I would. So even if homes or whether the location is, the evaluation price per square foot just still doesn't add up. And I just think it's unfair. I do believe in paying my portion of taxes. Just the math ain't mathin' for me. And I do appreciate you guys evaluating this, and I do appreciate our appraisers and everything that they do. Public service is not an easy job. But I just want what's fair.
Let me just touch on the RCW. If the RCW does mention that, we may be able to look at those sales, but when we have sales in the subject neighborhood, then we're gonna want to look at those. That may be an instance where there is no sales in the subject neighborhood at all. But as seen in my sales grid, the reason those were used in that neighborhood is because there were sales in that neighborhood.
So if we accepted Crestmont, that's in a completely different neighborhood. I think if we're accepting that, it should all be.
It's not accepted. He just
Oh, I'm
said
sorry,
it was
he added it.
illustrative only.
Oh, it's just, thank you for correction.
Illustrative only. So no, he didn't use
Oh,
it.
okay, I misunderstood, thank you.
I don't really know.
Okay. This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-136 for parcel number 8870-0415030000, represented by Jeremy Reef, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding a true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. The Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. This board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakehill as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We've reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be presented at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representatives swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay, the appellant will go first, followed by the assessor. Go ahead.
So, just based on what I received from, the assessor's office, kind of the comps for the houses. So my house was built in 1953. So all the houses were similar age homes, effective ages were similar. But then my house, when going through and making the comp, mine said it, I think, average good. All the other ones are average, fair average, or fair. And based on kind of effective age, I think mine should be lowered to average or average fair when kind of going through the comp value.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's, yeah.
Can you explain the difference between those?
Yes, absolutely. So the quality is going to be in regards to the construction of the home, the different components, whether it be baseboard versus warm cold air, comp shingle versus enamel metal, all of those things that have to do with the construction of the home. So the condition is what we have as average here. That is going to be what is reflected in the effective age. So a home that's in average condition has typical wear and tear for the age of the home. And then it calculates the effective age based on that. So in comparison to these other ones, it looks like the effective ages based on the conditions are all pretty similar, aside from comparable 3, appears to have had more work done to it. So it is an average good condition, which is reflected in its effective age. As far as there was some stuff provided here by the appellant that does show some wear and tear of the home. When I looked at that, it does appear that that is mostly going to be just typical wear and tear. Some of the things I've seen a few pictures that were of a fence, and we don't value the fencing. In some of the interior stuff, it is, it looks like there may be some holes that need patched, but it appears to be typical wear and tear. And we have the effective age at 1988, which would be 37 years old at the time of this appraisal. And the life expectancy, typical life expectancy of a home is 55 years. So we have this, almost at half life or over half of its life already. So I do believe that the issues that were brought forth here are reflected in the condition. With that being said, the sales comparison grid did show a lower adjusted average value at $421,073. Therefore, we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land $51,200, building and structures $369,873, for a total assessed value of $421,073.
Any rebuttal?
Just, I meant kind of the age of the houses, they look very similar construction. If my house was brought down from average good to what, all the other ones to average, I think it would bring my average with the comps to around 408, 907, which I think would be fair because these houses all build the same time frame, probably very similar construction. I think that would be fair, but.
Where did you come up with that number?
I just based on what was added because I had, it was kind of the ballpark estimate because I'm not quite sure what was added for mine being average good versus average. So I could be incorrect, but that's where I thought would have been or what mine was additional added to when it was average good. So if it would have been average, it would be somewhere around that 408 price range.
Any other?
Just real quick, if their quality is an issue, it wasn't anything that was stated on here. All this was conditional, and I think maybe there was, maybe that was the confusion is the difference between the condition and quality. I would love to make note of that too. If there is something that is different in the quality, that we could look into that as well, to make sure that we have it correct, because what we want to do is just make sure that it is correct. So I will make note of that and maybe have the appellant reach out so we can get that.
Did you have any
checked on.
communication with the?
No, because when I had sent in the appeal, it was too late to, I think, have communication.
Anything else?
It's never too late.
Okay,
Uh,
well, they,
Until that door shuts on your hearing, then it's too late.
okay, okay,
But
well,
yeah, I
I,
urge everybody to talk.
okay. And I kind of, when I had spoke to somebody on the phone, they said just fill out the appeal versus kind of having the communication with the assessor's office.
Even after the appeal, though, go ahead and talk to them.
Okay.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we're on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-129 for parcel number 10980-05053400, represented by Lawrence Lewis, who is not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. There are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakwell as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Since there's no appellant, does the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 2,001 square foot, 1.5 story single family residence on a 6,000 square foot residential lot in Sunland Estates. As seen on page 7, the sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. And the average adjusted market value is $790,857. The appellant has provided 3 sales in their petition. Sales B and D were used in market adjusting of the subject property and are comparable 1 and 2. Sales C was not used in market adjusting the subject due to being a 2-story residence. However, it was added to the sales comparison grid for illustrative purposes only. With that,
Can you tell us which one that is? Is that?
that would be comparable.
778 Southwest River Drive?
Sale C was
Yeah,
not used.
it's cut off there, but yes, it'd be 4. But while we're discussing the sales grid, you said that one was not used because it was a 2-story. These all look like 2 stories.
These are all 1.5 stories.
Okay. Thank you for your clarification.
Not a problem. And also, it does appear that they listed another sale or another property as, was that A? I believe it would have been A, but there's no sale price or date of sale, so that also wasn't included. With that, we're asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $258,000, building and structures, $482,179, for a total assessed value of $740,179.
Questions?
I have none.
Okay.
So petition number 2025-160 scheduled for 11 a.m. did not confirm attendance, so we will move to that one if the board is ready.
Everybody? Go ahead.
Okay. So this is petition number 2025-160 for parcel number 30423-12029428, represented by Holly Perry, who is not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Mr. Chair.
Since we're just continuing on, I'm just going to remind you you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, this is a bi-level single-family residence on a 1-acre residential lot in Moses Lake. As seen on page 7 is the sales used for market adjusting in the subject neighborhood. The adjusted average market value is $456,526. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $40,000, building and structures, $353,294, for a total assessed value of $393,294.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And we'll move to petition number 2025-161 for parcel number 30421-12029426, represented by Chrissy Wood, who is not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Mr. Chair.
Again, I'll remind you that you're under oath.
Yes, sir. All right, so this subject is also a bi-level single-family residence on a 1-acre residential lot in Moses Lake. And page 7 is the sales used for market adjusting in the subject neighborhood. The average adjusted market value is $457,150. On this one, I will note that I reached out to the appellant recently in regards to some of the concerns about the condition. I explained to the appellant that when effective age was adjusted all the way down, the value was still, I believe it was at 401,000, somewhere around there. So those conditional issues are not substantial enough that they changed that market value. It was brought to our attention that this is not a non-marketable house. Therefore, that market value is still supported. So we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $40,000, building and structures, $346,236, for a total assessed value of $386,236.
Okay.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearings. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-186 for parcel number 28334-111540000, represented by Spencer Bialis, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakville, as chair, Jim Gingrich as vice chair and Rosa Decker as a member. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representatives swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Or the appellant go first and it'll be followed by the assessor.
All right, so everybody, I'm Spencer. Not quite sure, I've never done one of these before, but it seems as if there might have been some kind of misinterpretation of the shed in my backyard. It looks like it was listed as a detached garage, which I think might lead to some of the confusion on the overall value of the property. It's like 3 sheds. They just kind of look like they're stuck together. They're completely separate. They sit on cinder blocks. Not a separate building at all. And that's about all I've got.
Clayton, you want to go ahead?
Okay, so I'll first address that. So that was not something that was brought up in the original petition, so I have not looked into that. It does appear from our picture that they took this from what appears to be outside of the gate. So what they had, what we previously had in our system would have been what we went with. It does look like there's a value of just shy of 15,000 for that shed. So if that is something that needs to be looked at, I'll make note of that. But however, it wasn't mentioned in the petition as something that needed to be addressed. With the sales shown on page 7, the sales comparison grid, the average adjusted value is 235,449. So we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land 42,500, building and structures 192,949, for a total assessed value of 235,449.
Any rebuttal?
I mean, to me, that seems high, especially for the area. The house hasn't had any major improvements done since I've purchased it. Still single pane windows, original flooring, shake shingles are all original, 71 years old. I think that 235 is a little high. I think with some kind of adjustment, I wasn't aware that it had been, well, I wasn't aware the first time I had received the paperwork and the assessed value that the sheds were listed as a detached garage. So I would have brought that up initially rather than secondary evidence there.
Did you, I see you submitted the evidence, looks like on the 13th of April. Did you make any attempt to talk to the assessor's office?
I was just responding to what I had seen on the
We were just,
letter, yeah.
for the record, we urge everybody at any point through this, other than when you walk through that door for this hearing, take the time to talk to the assessors, have them explain why the numbers are what they are.
Okay.
So,
You rebuttal?
Oh, I have nothing further now.
I just have the question. So this adjusted value does not take into account that that is not an detached garage?
It does take into account that we have it as, and I'm not sure if it's valued as a tool shed, attached garage. We have it on here as detached or other outbuildings. So I don't, let me see, did I say on the first page here? Oh, so yeah, on the first page here, I guess I should have looked at this. We have it valued as a tool shed. On the sales comparison grid, it says garage, and then in parentheses there, it says detached or other outbuildings. So that is considered an other outbuilding. So it is valued as a tool shed. Now, I guess maybe the question would be, is that if it's on skids or what have you, is it something that needs to be valued? It does appear, based on the size of it, that it would be something that we would put a value on. But again, I would have to look further into that. But it isn't, from what I have on here, it's not valued as a detached garage, it's valued as a tool shed. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because yes, it does, on the sales comparison grid, it's really small, but it says other outbuildings. And that's what that is.
Any response?
No, I'm fine on that.
Okay, all right.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-176 for parcel number 28834-111885133, represented by Philip Law, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. The Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brinkville as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We've reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Appellant will go first, followed by the assessor.
Well, I guess I just wanted to make sure I was present in person to hear any questions you may have for me. I did call the assessor's office immediately when I received my assessment. It had gone up substantially from the low 800,000 to over $1.3 million in a single year. I couldn't see any justification for that based on the property values that I was seeing in the area. I had discussed it with several realtors in the area, even Board of Commissioner members that were familiar with the real estate business, and no one could make heads or tails of how it moved so far, especially in 1 year's time. After several conversations with the assessor's office, it became clear my only path was to have an independent appraisal done of my property, which I did. I had to pay for that out of my own pocket, and I provided that as evidence. I wish the number would have been a little lower, honestly, on the appraisal, but I believe it is representative when I look at other sources of information and the people that I've talked to in the industry. So that's what I provided. I want to make sure I was available for any questions you may have for me.
My question's the appraisal.
And the appraisal is the one that's done by Maximo Luna,
Yes,
and it shows a 970,000.
correct.
So since that appraisal was submitted later on, I actually do not have it in my packet, so I'm not going to speak on that appraisal. The appraisal date, I believe, on that appraisal would have been sometime in 2026. If it was done recently, then it would have been obviously a 2026, and this appraisal date is 1/1/2025. As seen on page 7, the sales comparison grid, these were the sales. Sale comparable 1 was used for market adjustments of the subject property based on similar square footage. 2, 3, and 4 were added to the grid as they had the same land type. That has been an argument that the shallow laguna is a factor here. So as seen in the grid, comparable 1 is the most comparable with only $25,000 worth of adjustments, whereas the rest of them have upwards of all the way up to $250,000 of adjustments that need to be made to make them comparable to the subject. That average adjusted market value is $1,325,683. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $147,500, building and structures, $1,165,532, for a total assessed value of $1,313,032.
Any rebuttal, sir?
Well, I feel that they went as far back as they possibly could by the law to pick up that property that was sold at $1.5 million. And that's probably the biggest thing in my opinion that is not being fair. They're reaching back as far as they can by law, but they're not reflecting the current market value of properties at the time. As we're all aware, there's people that come into this area that sold in markets that have twice the value of properties that we do. They can come in and pay exorbitant amounts that don't even reflect the market value just because they can. And when I talked to people about that particular property, they said it was not a property that went through the normal process of being listed. It was just kind of one of those oddball sales. And I feel reaching that far back to 2022 reflects a different interest rate market. It reflects a different real estate market. And on top of that, it seems that this is just one of those odd sales. And to include that, I feel is not reaching for a current market evaluation. It's reaching for the maximum market evaluation.
Rebuttal?
So I want to address went back too far on the comparables. Since this was the most comparable in the area, that's why we had to use this one that was further back. Department of Revenue requires us to look up to 5 years back. And this was the most comparable. We are limited in our sales in that neighborhood. It is, and these houses are unique as well. So finding comparables, and there wasn't anything newer. So that's why we used such an old one. The sale was an odd sale. Based off of the statutory warranty deed, it appears that it was a market transaction. What all went into that sale, if that person paid more or less for certain things about that house, we're not made aware of that unless something is brought to our attention. We have to go off of what the real estate excise tax affidavit lists as the price, and it was an arm's length transaction. Therefore, it is considered comparable and was used. And that is all I have.
Well, I guess I would differ on his opinion of what's available to use for in the area. I also do not understand how he does not have the appraisal that I provided. You received it. I copied people in the assessor's office on that appraisal. So I don't understand that part. But to get to if you have a copy of the appraisal, look at that map. It's Moses Lake. We're not talking Lake Michigan here. There's plenty of properties around that the appraiser used that could have been used that were much more recent sales in a more similar market. So that's why I feel this appraisal is fair and it represents the market value of my property.
Anything else?
I don't have anything unless he does.
Questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
What are the guidelines of accepting the appraisals? Because we get the notices later in the year, and then usually if you want to appeal those, you want to have an independent appraiser. Then that probably is going to go into the next year. So how is that guidelines?
I'm not sure that there's a set guideline on those. Now, when we're looking at an appraisal, we want it to be as close to that 1/1 of that assessment year, in this particular case, 1/1 of 2025. So when you get an appraisal done now, and so let's say now, May of 2026, you're so much further. So the sales that they're going to be using in that appraisal could be well past our cutoff date for our sales that were used in this particular appraisal. Now, a fee appraiser is also going to look, just like the appellant stated, they're looking all over whereas we're looking in just that specific neighborhood. So there's a few things there with the appraisals that are provided that can affect it. Now, judging off of, again, I'm not sure why the appraisal didn't make it into my packet. I have looked at the appraisal. The main thing that stood out to me was the fact that the appraisal date is so far past the assessment date for ours. So that's why I would say it wouldn't be used. But as far as a set of how those are accepted, I would have to get something more solid for you on that. I don't know that there's anything specific. If an appraisal is provided, let's say the change of value came out in December and they reach out to us and say, before it's even a petition or right when it's petitioned, then they have an appraisal done. Well, it's only like 4 or 5 months after the fact. That's much, much closer than a year and a half later once we're sitting in front of you guys now.
Can I respond to that?
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay,
You said you gave a copy to the assessor's office?
yes. When I provided a copy to you folks, I provided a copy to the assessor's office.
So you mailed one to each different?
I sent it via email to both.
It sounds like you said you've seen it.
I've seen it,
It's
yes.
just not in the packet.
The appellant did
Yeah.
provide that credit. I don't know how it didn't make it into my packet.
Okay.
As I'm sitting here right now, I don't see it. So I can speak on it enough that I have seen it, but I can't speak of specifics on the appraisal. As far as the date would be the big thing would be the date of that appraisal, which to the best of my knowledge was either in April or May of 2026.
Okay.
Which is significantly past 1/1 of 2025.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I believe like everyone, you don't know what they appraised your house at or assessed your house at until December. I called immediately. I tried to work with them on this. When it became apparent that I couldn't do anything else, this is within a reasonable time frame of that call. Whether it was January that I had the appraisal done or 3 months later, that is not going to move the needle that much in what it's going to appraise for. If he's willing to accept one that was done in January as an appraisal based on the fact that I'm now made aware that I disagree with their assessment, 3 months difference is not that much time.
Anything else? Any questions?
No, I answered mine.
Okay.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good afternoon. Today is,
Are we recording?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-221 for parcel number 70135-311248000, represented by Wayne and Rebecca Hutzel, who is in attendance via Zoom. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakeville as chair, Jerry Gingrich as vice chair, and Rosa Decker as member. We reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Did both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Ms. Hutzel?
Yes.
Okay, the appellant will go first and followed by the appraiser. So go ahead, Ms. Hessel.
Okay, what I want to do is just kind of review kind of what we presented. Just talking about a couple things. The dramatic increase, which was 43% of our taxes, was a little shocking and a little bit overwhelming. And we couldn't understand why that happened. That's such a big increase. I think part of the issue was the comparative values of houses that were used. For sure, one of the houses that were used, this is what happens is it's someone overpaid for this house. And we feel like we should not have to, because they decided to overpay for this house, it affects the price of the houses in the neighborhood. But we feel like that's not a very good comparable property to use. They paid almost $800,000 for this house. So that affects the other people like us that paid a reasonable amount of money for our house. So I think that was something that we don't agree with. I don't know if you want the property number or anything like that. So those were two things that we were concerned about, definitely. And I'm trying to think of what else I should tell you about. And then also there is a market bubble in Moses Lake, in our opinion. And I know that affects property values, and the bubble bursts and then it goes down again. As my husband wrote this up, there's new construction in Moses Lake, and it should take the pressure off prices. Our house is 40 years old and we have not done any interior improvements. And we are on a fixed income because we're retired. So those are basically some of the issues that we feel like are important about how this property should be assessed, and maybe have it. We had submitted what we think was a pretty comparable. We had comparables, and we weren't told that we could not use. We only had to use properties in the neighborhood. There on the instructions, the original instructions, it did not tell us that. So we used whatever comparable properties that we felt would fit. So that's it.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So as seen on page 6, these are the sales that were used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. The appellant stated that they believe that the property was overpaid. Again, when we're looking at a sale, we have to go based off what the excise tax affidavit tells us the price is. We don't know what went into that. We are required by Department of Revenue to be at 100% of true and fair market value based on comparable sales in the neighborhood. As seen on page 6, the average adjusted market value is $697,351. Let's see. In regards to so-called market bubble, and when that does burst and the values go down, that will be reflected as the market changes, whether it be up or down. We are required to follow it. So as sales of homes start to go down, that will be reflected. As of this time, the latest sale being in May of 2024, it wasn't down. It appears that it was up. But again, that will be adjusted. As far as the instructions, not saying that sales, the petition doesn't state explicitly that sales have to be inside that neighborhood. I don't. That's on my response, that I put that because that's why we didn't use those sales. I can't speak as to why the petition doesn't state that they have to be in that specific neighborhood. Let's see, the appellant had listed 3 sales in their petition. However, None of them were used because they were all outside the subject neighborhood. And then also sale B had sold again from the original sale that was listed there for 443. It sold again for 1.2 million. So that showed a rise in the market as well. So with that, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, 123,525, building and structures, 477,410, for a total assessed value of 600,935.
Mhm.
Ms. Hutzel, any rebuttal?
Yes, I still, I feel like we're being penalized because people are coming into the area and paying for these houses. So why should we be penalized if they decide to make a poor decision and pay too much money? We should be penalized because they are paying more than what the properties are going for in the neighborhood, or in this neighborhood. I don't understand why that would happen. I mean, what if someone comes in and pays underneath the market value or what they're worth here? Then would we be adjusted because of that? And then, like I said, I just don't feel like we should be penalized because they overpaid on that house. And I'm looking at the evidence that we gave you on the houses. And so when our houses were not taken into account, our comparables, because they were outside the neighborhood, I'm trying to clarify that.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's what
Okay, and so on the form, it does not say we cannot use property outside the neighborhood. Okay, so I feel like right there's a mistake being made, because we're not given I would like to look at the form that we were filled out and visit whether it said that we had to take it and find the comparables in our neighborhood. I think there's a problem because I'm looking at the thing right now to see if I can find it. But I don't think that's fair. If we weren't given the proper information about how to do it, I'm gonna find it on here. You know what I'm saying? That puts us in a bad position because we did the work to find the comparables for you and they weren't even used at all. So I feel like that's wrong. I'm looking on page 4 of the instructions. And I would like the board or someone to look at this and show me where it indicates how we can pick up the comparables. Could someone do that with me? Because I think it's an important point.
Form, the one that is provided by the Department of Revenue. So give me one moment and I can.
Yeah, I'm looking at the instructions for petition to the County Board of Equalization. I'm on page 4 from the Department of Revenue. There we go. So we're on that page.
And
which number are we looking at here?
So which number are you looking at?
Well, I'm trying to find it myself, to see what the instructions are for comparable. It's page 3. I'm looking at page 3. Let me see here. I'm on page 3 now. Petition, I'm looking to see. So on page 3, item 7, it doesn't say anywhere on there that they have to be in the neighborhood.
I mean, I can address that. This is a form from the Department of Revenue. This is not a form for us. I understand that it isn't stated on there, and again, I don't have, as far as I know, any control over that. It would be something I'd have to look into to see if there's anything that we can do to maybe adjust that. My suggestion to that would be, while filling this out, if there was any questions, to give our office a call, and then we could clarify anything on here. Now, again, we cannot advise an appellant how to fill this out because this is for a petition that's to a third party, but I would gladly explain that to anybody who reaches out. But as far as being able to dictate what is on this petition form, that is something that comes directly from the Department of Revenue. So I will make note of that to see if there's something that can be done, because this isn't the first time that this has been brought to our attention. But at the present moment, there's I have no control over that.
Okay, I know that you don't have control over it because it was put out by the Department of Revenue, but you're asking for information and there's no parameters on here about where we can get the properties from. And then, because now you say after we sent this in, they have to be in the neighborhood. So you're not taking into account this information that we provided. That doesn't seem right. That's not right, because you're asking for information and we gave you information. And because we didn't do it the way that, who knows how you're supposed to be doing it, because it's not written on here, that you totally throw ours out. I think they need to be taken into account, at least the two comparable properties. I didn't realize number B had resold, but the two other ones I think need to be taken into account, the Lakeside Drive one and the South Lakeway Drive. That one was done sold in 21. So can those be taken into consideration? Why? Yeah, I would like them to be taken into consideration.
I would have to look into those sales. However, I will note that both of the comparables that were used were on the same street as the subject, and were newer than 2021. So even factored in, I look at comparable one, only $8,000 worth of adjustments, and the newest sale, that would be the most comparable out of any of them, to include the ones that were listed here. So again, I can only speculate whether or not these are even comparable. But what I can say for certain is that the sales that we use for the adjustments and that have been listed here are comparable, as seen in the sales comparison grid.
I don't know why you can say that, because these are within 5 years and it's a lakefront property. So I don't understand why this can't be a comparable. Especially the Lakeway Drive one.
I don't have any questions.
Well, I think that the questions have been asked and answered. We don't have any control over what's written on a DOR form, so we can't address it at this point.
Okay. But this is the form that we were given to fill out. So you see what's happening. We get this form, we follow the rules, we do all the work, and we give it to you. And then you say, oh, wait a minute. We can't use this because it wasn't in your neighborhood. You understand? It's not like it's not fair. It's not right that you were given a form to fill out. You do the form, and then your information is not used because of some understanding that you have that I didn't have. I mean, I was supposed to call you and talk to the office and say, what else do I need to know about these comparable properties before I go do the work and get the comparable for you? Do you understand? We're operating without not writing all the information.
We highly recommend contacting the assessor's office and talking to them directly when you have questions, so that you are able to get some sort of answer from individuals that work with them all the time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I add something? if you also, doing due diligence, and I just did it real quickly here on the computer, if you look at your form, if you reach out to either the assessor's office, the Board of Equalization, or the Department of Revenue, I believe they would refer you to the Washington State Department of Revenue's brochure, which is appealing your property assessment to the County Board of Equalization. And on page 3, I believe it's page 3, it states listing comparable sales. You can get comparable sales information from records at the assessor's office, realtors, or title companies. You should use property sales that are most comparable to your property and which are sold closest to the assessment or appraisal of your property. The best sales comparisons are sales of your property or similar properties in your area or neighborhood. And that's directly from the Department of Revenue.
Okay, that's all, that's great, but I don't have that information. And when we started this process, it was not provided to us. We're thinking that when we do this appeal, you're providing for us what we need to do, which you actually provided this information. This was provided from you guys to do it. So why?
Hold on.
Right.
You're making an assumption there, and I'm going to cut it off right now because you're saying that we're supplying you with something. We're not supplying you with anything, ma'am. That's not our job. That's the Department of Revenue and the assessor's office. And again,
okay,
if you have communication with the assessor's office, they can answer some of these questions.
okay, I hear you. I'm just, yeah. Because apparently the assessor's office gave us this, and it's not accurate and fair that it doesn't give the correct information. So we're doing this whole process, and we're already in a deficit because we don't have the right information. I just feel like
Right at the very top of the form, page 1.
Yeah.
Department of Revenue, Washington State, Form 640075. That's not us. It's not the assessor's office. It's the Department of Revenue.
yes. And then you see the title of this is Taxpayer Petition to the County Board of Equalization for Review of Real Property Valuation Determination. You see the heading of it?
Ma'am, I understand, and Grant's written in there, I get that, but
Okay.
it's all the counties in the state of Washington.
Okay, all right. We kind of beat that one to death for a while. Okay. Can we revisit the dramatic increase, 43% on our property, and we've made no improvements on this house?
If you want to address it, fine. Otherwise, I mean, we're into a time frame here, so
Okay.
go ahead.
I've addressed
Okay.
everything.
All right. With that, I think we'll call it at this point. It's been addressed. It's been answered. I don't know what else to tell you, ma'am.
Okay, can I ask just one question? I promise I'm done. Do you guys take into account at all that we're on a fixed income? Is that taken into account at all on any of this?
Can I address that? Go ahead. Is referring it to a fixed income, no, the Board of Equalization does not consider that. However, if you can apply for and get the senior frozen value, the exemption, if you meet all the criteria in the assessor's office, and I'm not in the assessor's office, so I can't attest to that. But once again, it's incumbent on the taxpayer to do the due diligence to figure out where they qualify for those exemptions and things. The Board of Equalization doesn't look into your income or anything like that. We're looking at the fair market value of the homes.
Okay.
Or real property, excuse me.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Right. Thank you for attending.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization for the administrative hearings portion of the day. We'll start by hearing petition number 2025-149 for parcel number 11012-05056600, represented by Ryan and Sarah Cool, who are not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance and will be in attendance for the duration of the administrative hearings. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearings are open.
These hearings today are these hearings today are regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of a property, not your property taxes. The Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners, trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Chair, Jim Draco, I can't even get my name out. Jim Brakeville as Chair, Jerry Gingrich as Vice Chair, and Rosa Decker as a member. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. And since there isn't an appellant in any of these, does the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Right, the subject is a 2,135 square foot, 2-story, single-family residence on a 6,000 square foot residential lot in Sunland Estates. On page 6 are the sales used for market adjusting the subject's neighborhood. As you'll see at the bottom, the average adjusted market value is $865,703. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $258,000, building and structures, $571,890, for a total assessed value of $829,890.
Questions?
Next is petition number 2025-154 for parcel number 34670-13003500, represented by Kelly and Janice Moore, who are not in attendance. Sure.
Again, remember, you're under oath.
All right, so this subject is a 2,000 square foot bar tavern on a 2,140 square foot commercially zoned lot in Ephrata. And on page 5, you'll see a sale of comparable buildings in that neighborhood. Was a neighboring parcel that sold. With this one, the subject received a positive adjustment. During BOE review, adjustments were made based on the building on the neighboring parcel being a section of the building on this parcel. So you can kind of see in the picture there, the smaller portion was on its own parcel. However, it is a section of this main building, so it was added into the total square footage of the building, being as that it is not a separate section and wouldn't be sold separately. So the square footage, the value on this is going to have changed upwards because of that the addition. But now on the next one, as you'll see, it is the value went down, and a new change of value notice was sent out for that one. So we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land 12,480, building structures 175,656, for a total assessed value of 188,136.
Any questions?
And just for clarity, and I'm familiar with the building, but we're talking about the addition and the vacant lot right there. That's now rolled into the building.
Correct. I don't believe the vacant lot is part of
Okay,
it.
just
The
extension.
small section.
So it won't be assessed by itself anymore.
No.
It's all,
No, it's the next petition coming up. So if
Okay.
you want to just roll, if we're just rolling right into that one.
We're doing 154, right?
yeah,
And how much
Yes.
did you say the assessed value was?
188.
It's not
188, 136.
Keep scrolling down.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Well, it's because it takes into account the additional that you just said.
Correct.
What? Okay, I'm good.
Thank you.
Next is petition number 2025-155 for parcel number 34669-130034000, represented by Kelly and Janice Moore, who are not in attendance. Mr. Chair?
Again, remember you're under oath.
Yes, sir. So, as with the last, as I stated in the last one, the subject is a section of the neighboring bar / tavern. And during review, what we did was we added the square footage of this section to the main building as it is a section. Now I can see on here, to answer the question, it is not the vacant lot, it is only the building. I can see the parcel lines here. So with this one, it is, the improvement value is actually being taken away since it was added to the other building. So on this one, we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land. Well, I'm sorry. Why does it have? I am not sure why it has an improvement value on there. It should just be land 2,200 for a total assessed value of 2,200. If you take away that improvement value, I'm guessing that I did this before that was set. So I am gonna just recommend a value at 2,200.
For the land.
Just
Yes,
the land.
yeah, it's just
That's all
the
being
land.
valued. That 4522 dropped to zero is his recommendation.
Correct.
So this building and shouldn't be there.
That's what we just did on 154.
That was added in.
They added it to the main building.
Okay, so you're going to redo paperwork to show that its value is just the land?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I will reprint out that page and submit it to the board.
It's too late to submit it.
That's true.
It's whatever the board rules at this point.
Right, okay, all right.
Thank you.
Moving to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Next is petition number 2025-184 for parcel number 33289-121269000, represented by Jasper and Cecily Hendricks, who are not in attendance.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 1,808 square foot, single-family residence, a 720 square foot detached garage, and a 444 square foot tool shed on a 22,500 square foot residential lot in Krupp. As seen on page 7, sales comparison grid shows the sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. The average adjusted market value is $279,839. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $12,625, building and structures, $211,167, for a total assessed value of $223,792.
Question I have is, where the heck is Krupp?
You know where Krupp's at. Marlin Krupp, take 28 towards Davenport or Odessa.
Okay,
Just before you cross the county line, there's a little tiny sign that says Krupp, that way.
all right. All right, good, go ahead.
Next is petition number 2025-191 for parcel number 30399-1202940025, represented by James Andrew and Melissa Michelle LeFew, who are not in attendance.
Again, keep in mind you're under oath.
Yes. The subject is a 2,298 square foot single-family residence and a 728 square foot detached garage on a 211,702 square foot residential lot in Moses Lake. On page 6 is sales comparison grid. It shows the sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. The average adjusted market value is $570,076, and the subject was used for marketing and adjusting as it sold on February 13th of 2025 for $480,000. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $74,500, building and structures, $313,590, for a total assessed value of $388,090.
Okay. Questions? No.
Did you look into the bids and stuff that they provided for the work that the house needs?
One more time?
Did you look into the documentation they provided for work that the house needs, the estimates? Was that taken into?
It's taken into consideration. However, the market value is sale of the subject itself. So it appears that was considered at the time of the sale as well. Should have been factored into the sale price. So yes, that would affect the replacement cost, but its market value should be somewhere around $480,000, and we're much lower than that. So.
Next is petition number 2025-208 for parcel number 71749-312750000, represented by David and Susan Sharp, who are not in attendance. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 2,100 square foot double wide manufactured home and a 1,800 square foot detached garage on a 50,530 square foot lot in suburban Moses Lake. On page 7 is sales comparison grid showing the sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. The subject itself sold on August 31st, 2021 for $375,000. Therefore, we're asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $29,700, building and structures, $321,762, for a total assessed value of $351,462.
What was the amount that it sold for? 375?
375, correct.
Questions? I don't have any. Okay.
The last petition is petition number 2025-211 for parcel number 1588-0105330000, represented by Robert Roop, who is not in attendance. Chair.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 620 square foot single family residence on a 6,098 square foot residential lot in Electric City. And page 7 is the sales used for market adjusting in the subject neighborhood. The average adjusted market value is $118,767. Therefore, we're asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $5,100, building and structures, $80,593, for a total assessed value of $85,693.
Questions?
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearings. The board will review all the information provided and board orders stating their decisions will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decisions, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order.